All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Beggar's Canyon, boys. This is episode 21, big party episode. Yeah, we're
That's
gonna
all
get
vodka.
wasted. Oh hell
That's
yeah,
vodka.
that's a lot, Ryan.
What did the doctor say? Eight ounce glasses of vodka a day. Let's go.
So we're gonna get crazy. We're gonna be freaking smoking weed and drinking beer, um, all day, all day long. Uh, I did think about just having a beer for this one, but
Yeah.
I have to do stuff later, so I'm not gonna do that. But how are you doing? What's going on with you?
I'm doing good, man. Can I tell you about a little, not so much a dream, but a afterthought of waking up that I had?
Yeah, yeah,
Star Wars
for sure.
related, of course.
Is it
That's
not
why
just Tot Donita? Tot Donita?
it's not, but it's similar to that. I just want to bring it up because it was a funny little revelation that I had, and I don't really know what is the. I mean, you are the cause, but the degrees of separation from what the actual like last domino to set this off is, I still don't know. But I woke up and I like the first thing on my mind was Mon Mothma, and I was like, I'm like, it's weird that now every once in a while I'm waking up and immediately there's a Star Wars, like a character that I don't even think about that often, like their name just in my subconscious and like pushing itself out. But it's like I'm
Yeah.
not having Star Wars dreams. And
Well,
to be
that's
fair,
the
this has
next
only
step.
happened. Yeah, this is only the second character that has happened to, but it was now that it happened twice. I was like, that makes it a pattern, and I'm scared. It's weird.
Yeah.
This is
That's funny too, because Mon Mothma, like, I mean, I guess the most you've seen her was in the Dark Forces opening cutscene, really.
well. I think it's also probably just because. Um. Well, no, wait. She's in the. Is she not in the? Wait, which game did you say?
The first Kyle Katarn game where she like gives him a briefing and stuff. But she's in the Heir to the Empire books and stuff too. So
But yeah, but she's also in. I don't know the name of it, so I can't really flex this knowledge on you as me getting like a dunk here, a Star Wars dunk on you here. But she's in the game we played with the actual like flying simulator controller or whatever. She
yeah,
introduces that one, doesn't she?
you're right. Yeah,
Dunk.
what? Either X-wing or Rebel Assault. I forget which one it was, but yeah, that's how you dunk.
Nothing but net on my dunk.
It's most impressive.
Yeah, sorry. Not a sports guy. I just have to wing it. Okay.
Hey, that's okay. That's you go for it. I want you to feel comfortable and confident, flexing whatever kind of thing you want to do.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but the vodka's really this getting in me a little bit.
Hey, well, what can we expect from our crazy 21st episode? So today, what the heck are we talking about on this podcast? We are talking about some comic books. We've got Crimson Empire. We've got a New Hope special edition and a new adaptation of the original movie. And then we're talking video games. We got Star Wars Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2 and the DLC Mysteries of the Sith. And then we can briefly touch upon a little behind the scenes documentary, Anatomy of a Dewback, if you ended up watching that.
I did. Wasn't very
Yeah.
entertained by it, but still some interesting stuff in there.
No, it's pretty dry. Too long for sure. I thought it was only like a 10-minute thing, but man, like I thought that, it would just be like a good example of just how they use the visual effects in general, which I guess it is actually.
Yeah,
It
and a
goes
good example of how much detail they really like thought about some of the stuff going into it, but
Yeah, for real.
I don't know.
But it was actually so specifically focused on the Dewback for pretty much 21 of the 25 minutes that I was kind of insane. But
So much
Um,
Dewback focus. And they were like saying like, yeah, when you were a kid, like or like when you were younger, weren't you saying like, oh, the Dewback's the coolest thing of like everything in the Star Wars universe or whatever? It's like the Dewback was what drew a lot of their focus in. I was like, you guys are just you're saying this to uplift the PR you're shooting right now for your
Yes,
documentary.
1000%. No, yeah, I thought about Dewbacks way more than like Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Whatever. But yeah, I figure we could start with the Crimson Empire. That's probably the bulk of what we'll talk about. That and Dark Forces 2, maybe we can talk about for a while as well. Um, so let's just crack it open if you're ready.
I am. I'm very ready. I was hyped for some Crimson Guard love. Is that what they're actually
Yeah.
called? What is their status?
I think they're called just the Royal Guards, like the Emperor's
Okay.
Royal Guards, um, or the Imperial Guard. Yeah,
But
the
I was
Emperor's.
fascinated from the first moment I laid my eyes on Palpatine's little side guys there, and when he showed up, because they look very cool.
Yes, for those just in case people don't recognize from the name, they're the red-robed, red-helmeted, spear-holding guys. They're only in the movie for a very brief moment in the Emperor's throne room in Return of the Jedi, but they also have made a lasting impression on me as a kid. I always was like, man, I wish we saw like Luke fight those guys or saw them, do something. Which, like, it's okay. Like, I don't think that's a fault of the movie or anything because there's so much going on in all the movies that you can't have literally everything that you want. And I mean, I don't know. I would happily watch like a 5-hour cut of every single movie where there's just random more fighting and stormtroopers talking to each other about new blasters coming in the mail and stuff like that. But I understand you don't really want to do that when you're putting something out in the theater. But anyway, yes, these are the Emperor's Imperial Guards, and Crimson Empire tells the story. This takes place. This is the furthest thing in the future, I guess, of the timeline that we've ever read. It takes place after all the Thrawn books. Takes place after all of the Dark Empire books that we were reading, and it follows the story of Kir Kanos, who is an ex Imperial Guard, and the villainous Karnor, right? Karnor Jax. Yeah,
I
Karnor
was referring to him as
Jax.
Jax in my head, but yeah, Karnor Jax. Which, by the way, I got to ask you, how's it feel to have the villain kind of be a subversion of the name Jackson? Really, I think that's what they were going for.
Yeah, I mean, I think they knew that I wanted myself represented in the book, and so they gave it to me. But I wish I had been a bit of a better character. I don't mean like he's a bad character in terms of writing, but
Yeah.
he's a bad guy.
Well, I would say in
Um,
terms of writing, I don't think he's a bad character at all. But like as far as the characters of this story go, he does feel like one of the lesser fleshed out ones.
yeah,
Like we know about his
which
plot really, but like personality wise, not too much. But yeah, I don't know if you were about to say, but it's not so big a deal because I like a lot of the other stuff, and it doesn't need to be focused on Jax.
okay. Well, speak for yourself. But no, I was just gonna say. I mean, I was gonna get into a pretty minute detail of the comic, so I would love to hear your overall thoughts. But real quick, just while I'm thinking about it, I did think his characterization was kind of cool. So, all right, before we give your thoughts, I'll just give a quick overview of what the story of this is. So, Kir Kanos, he's looking for revenge because he found out that Karnor Jax is partially responsible for the death of the Emperor, plotting to pay some guy, the Emperor, when he was having all his clones in the Dark Empire books, pay some guy to make those clones be defective or unhealthy, and that the Emperor, those bodies wouldn't last as long as they should, and everything, and so anyway, now Karnor Jax is like vying to be the most powerful Imperial, and there's a council of officers that are trying to hold power together, and Kir Kanos wants to take these guys down. He gets swept up with some New Republic people living on a planet, and he ends up dueling Karnor Jax to the death at the end. But Karnor Jax, he's a bad guy. He's also an ex-Imperial Guard. He has some minor Force abilities, and I think this was probably the most interesting thing about his character to me was in those flashbacks, which we can talk about more, but I think those are probably the coolest part of the whole book. Darth Vader, like, after they have been accepted to being Imperial Guards, Darth Vader just, like, slashes our main character across the face and is like, just remember, like, you're nothing compared to the Force. Like, you might be, like, the best, like, fighter, but you actually are weak because of the Force. And we see that from Kir Kanos' perspective, but we can assume that Karnor Jax probably went through a similar thing right before that when he was brought in. And that probably really messed with him for his whole life. And, you know, his whole thing is like, I gotta prove that I am as powerful as Palpatine or Darth Vader. I gotta learn the Force. And it's almost like a little sad and pathetic how he does use it, but he's not great at it, and he seems to really struggle to control it. And I thought that was, an interesting thing about his character.
I think the most he uses it in the story, though, is it not just to detect whether or not someone is lying at one point? Like, does he actually have a...
Well, he does do that. Sorry, go ahead.
Does he have a combat use of it in the end?
Yeah, while he's, like, locked up with Kir Kanos, he pulls some, like, piece of a rock or pillar or something and smacks him in the back of the head.
Oh, okay. Okay, I guess I didn't follow that properly. Oops.
That, and then, like, in certain scenes where he's sitting in his chair, he's, like, making a ball float, and then people distract him, and the ball, like, smashes.
Yeah, I was, at first, when that part first happened, I was confused what that ball was. Even I was like, oh, is that really, really important to the plot? Like, what is... Is this, like, some Star Wars device that I'm not recognizing or something? Like, but no.
He just practicing.
Yeah, well, that's chill.
Well, what did you think about these overall? Unless you were about to say something else. Sorry.
No, it's because I like to hear you defending your fellow Jax, even though you did call him, like, a little sad and pitiful towards the end. But, I mean, the Jackson way, am I right? Okay.
Wow.
No, I'm kidding. Anyway, on to the comic. I enjoyed this one a lot. The Kier, what are we calling him? Kier?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. K-I-R, Kier. I was saying
it was Kur in my head, but I think he said Kier. But I'll call him Kur. No, I'll call him Kier for your sake.
I wouldn't be able to handle it if you didn't, so.
Yeah, sorry. He's a really, really fun character to follow because he is, like, we've talked about this tough guy archetype before, and he does fit into that, but, like, where he is radically different in it is he's not, like, getting the heart of gold aspect, really, you know? He's still loyal to Palpatine, and he's, like, he keeps being like, no, we're not friends, okay? And at some point, we're probably gonna have to fight each other, and... I mean, some justice for my man in the end. I forget what his name is, but the reptilian-looking alien who gets slaughtered by Kier there.
Mm-hmm.
And the woman's like, "Why did you do that? What?" And he's like, "I literally have been telling you this entire time. Like, we're not on the same side, really. We just had a common enemy for the time being." I don't know. I really I appreciated that so much. I was like, this character's cool because of that. Like, I know he's like. I don't know, man. He's an anti-hero, but he's also, like, on the wrong side for sure. So he's just a bad guy, really. I mean,
he just wants to kill the main bad guy of the story. That's, like, the only reason why he is, like, a little bit redeemable, because he wants to, you know, destroy the empire that betrayed Palpatine. But yeah, you're totally right. Just so you know, to give him some actual justice, since you didn't even want to say his name. His name's Sadit.
It hurts too much. Sadit.
S-A-D-E-E-T. He's a Trandoshan, bro, just like Bosk. And Mirith is the woman that is the leader of this New Republic cell on this planet, I
Though
guess.
also, maybe I'm like reading too much into the way it was written, but like it's pretty obvious, right? That like it seems like she's really falling for him, even.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Like
he's
when
just,
she
like,
goes after him at the end, they're like, "Why?" And she's like, "Cause I like him."
yeah, really funny because again, he's not even like he is like strategically using them, but also like not super strategically in the sense where he's also putting on like an emotional front because he's being straight up with them about that part. He's just like, nah, I'm in it for me. Like I'm my only friend. That's it.
Yeah.
Like,
He's
and
like,
you
"I'm
know
not
what,
gonna
dude?
betray you guys, but I also am not gonna like help you."
After seeing the flashback where it's him and the other guard member who like flip the coin, which is that's a cool moment by the way.
Yeah,
Where like
yeah.
it's like whoever if it lands heads up I win whatever, and like you just know both of them are gonna choose the other one to be the one to actually go and like get spared their life. And they were gonna like it was like they were fighting to see who would be able to sacrifice themselves so the other could go do something for the cause, which I guess the cause is kind of evil, but like there's still beauty within that little action, you know?
Yeah, I mean they're loyal. They're loyal to the end, those guys. And like I think they do a pretty good job of showing like the brainwashing during the flashbacks when they've all got like their sort of Power Ranger colored outfits on in the squall.
Their swords are cool there too. Like they're not quite lightsabers, but I don't know what they're like. They're energy powered somehow.
Yeah, they can block. They can like deflect blaster bolts and stuff. They're like they're staves with like two little spears pointing out of either side. So this came out in '97. Well, the first one came out in '97, but really it went into '98 mostly. And it's written by Mike Richardson and Randy Stradley, who Mike Richardson is actually the CEO of Dark Horse Comics, and Randy Stradley's like a vice president. And they both have written several things, Alien, Godzilla, other licensed things, but this is their first Star Wars thing. We've got art by Paul Gulacy, yeah, and then cover art by Dave Dorman. And let me just say, these covers are so fucking cool. Oh my god. All 6 of them are incredible. Like, I love the one with Darth Vader in the background and the 2 guys fighting. The one with like the pile of stormtroopers and just him on top.
Yeah, that's
the
my
final
favorite one.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love the last one with them dueling and him on the ground, like, and Carnor Jack's about to stab him in the back and stuff. It's great.
And that is the cover artist who's been doing a lot of these, right? Because I recognize the style. Yeah. Man, he one of the best parts of like getting to these comics is like even regardless if the story is going to be great or not, I love seeing the cover work that he does. It's always really, really good.
Yeah, I love the style, and I, you know, I understand that like those pieces take a lot more time to make than the interiors do, but when I was a kid, I always was a little disappointed, like opening the book and it's like, oh, it doesn't actually look like that inside.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm still disappointed by that, but
oh yeah, I mean for sure. I know it can be a bummer, but the interior art is pretty good in its own way. I think I feel like the designs and the coloring and something about like the faces and maybe the individual illustrations is a little bit ugly, and I don't love the way it looks, but I will say the sequential action and, you know, the moment to moment storytelling is really strong, especially in action, like during fights. It's very like manga style where like each move of the fight is shown, and it's pretty easy to follow and get a sense of like the spatial geography and the moves that people are doing. And I don't know, I always love that, and I think they're good fights in this too.
yeah, I agree. They looked really good. I like particularly the fight when like Palpatine makes them fight each other, but also when Darth Vader first shows up to their little training facility and is like, "Your best student," and just like takes him down right there. That's another great moment in this one.
Oh yeah, he just wipes that guy, and the intro of Darth Vader is so cool too, because it's like his feet, and then up to his chest plate, and then like up to his head, and then the full body, and you're like, oh yeah, well these guys are tough, but even they're a little scared of Darth Vader.
Yeah, I really like that, like, because you're right, they're wearing their like Power Ranger or even helmets and stuff. But when the best student is like told, okay, now you have to fight Vader and like fight like your life depends on it, haha. Like, I feel like it's another one of those moments where the illustration's good enough that you can kind of see it in their body. Like, that guy was like, what? Like, I have to do this right now?
Yeah,
it doesn't work out for him.
The eyes are pretty good in this, I feel like. There's a lot of like emotion conveyed with eyeball stuff and nervousness and determination and all that. Another great piece of action. So there's a base on some fucking nothing planet where the New Republic have a base, and it's being attacked by the local officer to try and capture Kyrkanos before Jax gets there. And there's an awesome part where Kyrkanos is like helping them fight, and at first they're like, hey, there's an Imperial Guard, focus all fire on that guy. And then they're like, wait, he's killing stormtroopers. And then he like, there's a TIE fighter coming in to kill Mirith and Sadit, and Kyrkanos just takes his blaster, and the art is so sick. He just lines up a shot and blasts the guy right out of his pilot chair, and then has the TIE fighter kind of spin out and crash into some tanks and other things, and it's pretty awesome.
Well, what do they say in the story? I think it's one of those Royal Guard members is worth like 100, or was it even 1,000 stormtroopers, something like that.
Regular
they say stormtroopers.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. No, that moment's really funny too, because it also made me, because if you remember the redheaded woman, what's her name again? Mariah?
Mirith.
Okay. She has that other dude with her who's like, Commander, you're doing it all wrong by letting this guy in here, and he's gonna give away our location, and we don't know who he is, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And she keeps, like, trying to validate, like, they're fighting each other with that the whole time. He's like, look, he's a Royal Guard member, and she's like, no, but he's helping us, see? But I want to know now, because now we didn't get the resolution of their little quarrel, did we, at the end, when it's revealed that, you know, she was kind of wrong in a sense, because he does end up killing one of their guys.
Yeah.
I want to see that guy say, I told you so. That's all.
Hey, there's a sequel. There's a sequel series.
I knew before you even had to say it, man, because the way that one ended, I was like, there's no way they just end this and don't pick these characters back up, when her last line is basically like, oh, I'll be the one to kill you myself, Kyrkanos! Like, you know. Like,
yeah, it literally ends with her screaming and then zooming out of the whole planet. Yeah, at the end, they're like, oh, we want Karnor Jax alive, because he can tell us so much about the Empire's strategies and everything, and Kanos is like, I don't care about that at all. My whole thing is for revenge. I'm trying to kill this guy. And he does, and then Sadit gets all angry and is like, why did you kill him? And charges at him. And then he kills Sadit.
Sadit did not need to be killed, though. That, to be fair to them, really unnecessary death.
No, he didn't need to kill him. But
he could have peacefully incapacitated him, even, I think, if he's that skilled. And like you said, the threat was already taken out, you know? The guy was already dead.
Yeah, I guess he was still just like hopped up on battle adrenaline or whatever.
Yeah. Well,
but you're not wrong at all. Yeah, so I guess it shows like the training of these guys. What is the name of this planet? Yinchor. is
You
where
know
all
that?
the Imperial guards are trained, and it's an arena called the Squall. No, I didn't know that off the top of my head. The arena is pretty funny. It's like the symbol of the Empire. The circle with some sort of sun rays coming out of it, but in between the rays is just like a bottomless pit. So when they fight, they're just constantly like knocking each other off of this thing. Like we mentioned, Darth Vader comes and kills their best guy and is like, okay, you guys thought you were sick. Well, you got a long way to go before you're ready to serve the Emperor.
You know what's funny
Then-
too? In that moment, the like teacher offers up a couple choices. He's like, he's our best, but like this other guy and Kerr are like they're pretty close too. And I mean,
yeah.
man, he had no conception of what Vader was going to do, I guess, because I don't know. He fed up some loyal student to poor old Vader bloodlust.
Well, yeah, and then the other fucked up thing that happens is, I mean, I was just thinking of that because these guys are so loyal that they're just really abused and taken advantage of and killed fully expendably. But once they get it down to the final 4 guys, it's like Kir Kanos and his partner and Karnor Jax and his partner, and they bring them in 2 by 2, and it's like, okay, your final test is you guys fight each other to the death. You got to kill your best friend and training partner, and then whoever lives will get to be the one that actually serves the Emperor. And that was a pretty cool moment too. You could see Kir Kanos' friends start sweating under his helmet.
Yeah, that was rough, man. That was it made me think. If I was in that position, what would I do? And if it was you, the opposite, for example, that'd be tough. But I think I'd have to take you down pretty ruthlessly in front of Vader and Palpatine there. And I only say that because we saw what happened. I think Vader saw his hesitation there, and that's part of the reason. Also, he gave him the saber mark because
yes, you're right.
He was like, "Well, you're not just blindly obeying what we're saying. I can still see some of that hesitation within you. So I would just have to be like, I'm sorry, Jackson." And just I'd have to take you out there, and I'd have to have a smile on my face, probably even.
I mean, I do think it's funny that you think you could do that, but
well, I feel like if either of us are stronger force sensitive abilities, would be myself.
Okay, that's interesting that you would feel that way.
Okay,
I would say I'm probably
life?
more skilled with the blade, though.
Okay, but that's again, see, that's like the brutish mentality of force users. You wouldn't be a good force user, dude. Okay, I'm talking about meditating. You're talking about swordplay. Like, we are not the same.
In that moment right there, they did not want people who were in tune with the force. They wanted mindless killers.
Yeah, okay, but I'd be so in tune with the force that I would already know that they want that, so I'd be able to force project that personality onto myself, a veneer greater than your whole personality could have ever been.
Well, I think Darth Vader would be able to sense my authenticity and blind willingness to serve the Empire.
Okay, if you want to be the lapdog to the lapdog, be my guest. I'll take the bullet then. I'll die. I'll die so you can live that life. Is that what you want?
Yeah.
Okay, you heard it here. You want to be the arm of an authoritarian.
Lack of faith disturbing.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you with that.
No, that's what it should be used for, honestly, to just interrupt me.
No, what were you saying? I'm sorry.
No. Are we done with this episode?
Hey, don't be like that. I didn't realize you were trying to say something when I clicked on it, and then it was too late.
It is what it is, man. It's what it is.
Oh boy. Hey, our main man, both you and me, I think we share this as it being our favorite character. Wedge Antilles shows up in this one too.
I just think of you when he shows up. I'm like, oh, Jackson's gonna love this.
Yeah,
he's cool in this though. Actually, he's like leading stuff. Where he's like, where is the Death Ship Troop, or what is it called? Star Destroyer.
Yeah, the Star Destroyers. Yeah. And I mean, man, the rebels have gotten their hands on a superstar destroyer, and they keep talking about like, oh, were you able to get through to New Republic Command? Yep, we've got a surprise for them coming. And yeah, Wedge Antilles is a general now, and they've got the Star Destroyer Lusankya that they bring in, and it's got the rebel insignias on it, and it's a nice surprise.
Question for you: does his general status align with the other comic you were reading that was focused on those guys?
Not yet, but I'm wondering if I haven't read these yet, but I'm wondering if they get that Super Star Destroyer in like one of the novels, one of the Rogue Squadron novels or something, and he, climbs through the ranks from there. I'm not totally sure. Because the comics I've been reading kind of taking place like right before Heir to the Empire, so.
Oh, dude! By the way, I may go to this convention here. That's gonna have Mr. Timothy Zahn.
Hey,
there.
That's cool.
So I was like, oh man, if I can, I gotta get something signed by him and have show it on the podcast or something.
That would be awesome.
Nope. No promises, anyone. I don't know when that is again. I know it's in the next month here or so, but I don't know if I'll be in this state or hopefully another. Anyway,
that would be really cool. That would be cool to say what's up to Timothy Zahn, and you got to tell him, hey, I've only read the first 3 of your books, okay, or not even, but I only know about the first. I don't want to hear anything about this outbound flight mission.
Because he's working on new books now? Did we talk about this already?
Well, he just has more books that have come out.
I feel like you said something about him having books that are like coming out like post sequels, though. Is that the case or no?
As far as like new stuff he's working on now, I'm not sure, but he does have books that are pretty new, at least late 2010s, books that take place in the Disney canon of things.
I think he'd be really complimented if he knew how fondly I look at his Heir to the Empire as a direct continuation of the original trilogy.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't think you're alone in that, but I think he would appreciate that as well. And apparently, many people have brought up the hot chocolate thing to him, or else I would say that you should do that. But apparently, that's been like something that a million people have said. Like, what the heck is up with that? There's no hot chocolate in Star Wars.
He had to know. It's a quirky little moment, and it's like a longer moment. It's a long joke for like a weird payoff. So not to get back onto that, but it's like it's like you put that in there, man. It's like a page of this joke. So
it's very funny. Another moment I really liked in the Crimson Empire, was when Carnor Jax is landing back on Yinchor or whatever to fight him at the end, and it's right after Kyrkanos has like blown up an entire Star Destroyer by himself. That was pretty cool, but Jax is landing in his shuttle, and they've got the 2 like pilots, and it's like, Lord Jax, the Emperor's Revenge, it's been destroyed. He's like, Kanos is doing. A single man took out a Star Destroyer? Yes, and he waits for us below. And then there's just a panel of the 2 pilots looking at each other like, what? It just does a good job of establishing him as like a big time threat,
Yeah. I think they do something similar in the beginning too, when he's in that cantina and he takes out all the guys. There's like a conversation later, I think, that's like, well, what about when the backup got there? And they're like, we didn't think he'd be able to take out the backup too, but he took out all those guys. It's like, oh, yeah. Okay, wow.
He's
He's
tough.
cool. Mm-hmm. Him versus
And-
Kyle Katarn. Who do you think would win?
Ooh. Well, probably Kyle if we're going by how powerful he is at the end of Dark Forces 2.
Okay, well, just to say though, Kier did take out someone with force abilities already. He could easily do it again. That was his stepping stone to taking out a stronger level force user, you know?
Yeah, but freaking sorry, Kyle Katarn took out God,
Dark Jedi.
Jarek.
Yeah, Jarek the Dark Jedi.
Mm-hmm. Who's got his little Geordie LaForge eye band going on. Yeah, well, I mean, good transition into the game, but if you have any other thoughts on Crimson Empire, we can talk about those, or we can just
I didn't
move
quite
on.
mean to transition. I'm sorry. I feel like there is still good stuff we can talk about with Crimson Empire if you want to, like the little traitor guy, too. I don't think we mentioned him yet.
Yeah, he's lame.
Dude,
Murkon.
that was my favorite character. I like the way he betrayed our protagonists.
I think he looks like how I'm gonna look when I'm old.
I'm not gonna lie, dude. I have an image of him up, and I was like, just thinking that, seeing the image of you, but I was like, I won't say that though, because he's the traitor, he's the jerk of this whole thing, you know.
I just meant, visually, his hair and his facial hair and stuff.
Emotionally too, probably, but
yeah, and like how, he's like, here, you can have the money. I don't.
yeah.
I like how brutal the tone of this is. Like, I don't need every Star Wars thing to be like violent and sort of unapologetically brutal, but I think with this particular story it works really well because of who the characters are and the corner of the world that they're playing in. And I mean, most of these characters are just like, hey, you mess with me, I'm gonna kill you, straight up.
Yeah, and hey, it is kind of cool to see. And to your point, the moment when Vader does the slice into Kier's helmet, it looks so severe that it looks like it. I mean, I obviously I know he had the scar. I know they're like explaining that's the scar. But even for a moment, I was like, oh my god, did he like cut? How deep did he cut into his face there? Like that looked really, really bad. But
I mean, it's a pretty
cool
thick scar.
I know, yeah, I know. It was just like it was still effectively shocking to see, I think, because you're also not really expecting it to happen in that moment there, because it's like, okay, he won the fight. He had to impale his friend, which was also pretty brutal. You're like, nice. So then it happens.
Yeah, and Vader says something like, I know, excuse me, this is what you were talking about before, but I think Vader's lines are cool there. I can't remember them exactly, but he's like, I can tell that you still feel like some regret for what you did right here. Well, guess what? You no longer have permission to feel regret or anything. And just slashes him.
A good lesson, honestly. That was a good takeaway from this comic.
Mm-hmm.
We're all just loyal to someone greater than us.
Have you ever done like martial arts in your life? Did you do like taekwondo when you were a kid or anything?
No, never. I've always wanted to do boxing, but anytime I ever mention it to my mom, she'd be like terrified of me getting hurt. So no.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, my parents didn't let me play football and stuff when I was little because of that. But taekwondo for some reason was not popular at my school, but there was this pretty nice place to learn it. Shout out Dharmar Martial Arts. They actually taught a lot of different kinds of martial arts, but I did taekwondo was the main one, and that's what I did for a while. I was just reminded of it, like, when I'm reading these things that are so foreign to my life, even movies where like stuff is going on that I would never do. Most of the time they still like take place on Earth and like with humans, and you can relate to things. And like obviously there's humans here, and there's emotions that are relatable and relationships that are relatable even if you're not someone who's been involved in like the military or something like that. But you know, this flashbacks to the squall and everything, I'll always just try and think like, okay, what's the closest thing in my life to this? And like very, very far away from that. Not close at all. But still the closest would be probably doing martial arts, doing Taekwondo, just because it's like, oh, you're being trained to fight and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm sure they would put you up against fighting your fellow classmates too all the time, right?
We did, and one time, you know, my sensei I don't even know if that's the right word for it. I'm going to edit that out. One time the guy who was in charge, like, made me, you know, it's all various ages. There's some adults, some little kids. I was around 12 when I was doing this, and he paired me up against a 9-year-old girl, and, you know, I saw the opening for a neck chop, and I just went for it, and she was permanently paralyzed.
Oh my god. Jesus. Okay, so you would be closer to Kier than I am in this. You have past experience in this. If it was me and you'd saber neck chop me and you'd leave me deadalized. So
hey, as the second I got the opportunity. No, I didn't do that, but I did quit because
no, not because of that.
No, not because of that.
Okay.
But
I thought you were going to say
I
you
was
took such a moral apprehension against that you were like, I will
have
no
sworn
longer.
off.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be cool. No, I've never done anything badass my entire life. I've never had.
What are you talking about? You karate chopped that girl's neck.
That's not true.
That's super badass. She's paralyzed. Okay, sorry.
But there was this young girl who was usually in the classes with me, and you know, it's a business. They're trying to make money. They're trying to make you take multiple classes and things, but every now and then, like, they would, you know, invite you. You'd have to kind of just be invited to move on to the next belt level.
Okay, groundling style.
Yeah, exactly. And I got to dark green belt before I quit, which is not that far, but I did do it for a few years. I think it was white, yellow, orange, green, dark green. So, anyway, I remember I quit because during some of my last classes, there was like this little girl, 7-year-old girl, who the whole time during classes would just kind of be like running around in a circle and doing like karate chops and things and goofing off and whatever. Like, she's a little kid. I don't care about that. But I was actually like kind of trying hard and like learning all the moves and the sequences that they were teaching us and everything. And I started to notice that she was advancing through belts faster than I was. And I got really annoyed about that, and I realized like, well, it's probably because she comes like twice a week or something, or just pays more to do more classes that I'm taking, and so they're advancing her further, which, like, yeah, make me take a few classes before you level me up, but like, if I know what I'm doing at this level, like, let me go to the next level, right?
Yeah.
So that made me really upset as a kid, and also when I was like 9 through 12, pretty much anything that involved me having to like go and like do practice and wasn't just like playing video games at home, I was like, I want to quit.
Well, I'm sorry that they didn't elevate you to your proper status, man. Sometimes you're so good they got to keep you down.
That was it. I mean, I think they were scared I would start coming for like the more advanced students.
So they just let you pick on the other students in the green class? That's just...
Yeah. I guess so.
He's too good. Let's just have him wail on these mediocres. That's what I'm assuming green belts are. Mediocre, by the way.
I mean, you're not wrong. But
What is it? White, yellow, green?
dark green, bro.
Dark green, sorry.
White, yellow, orange, green, dark green.
Dark green with a yellow stripe?
It was just green with a black stripe.
Whoa,
But they called it
okay.
dark green.
1/64th of the way to a black belt there, buddy. Very nice.
Hey. A couple of my friends became black belts at that place, and they were actually pretty good at it. I remember going to one of their black belt ceremonies, and they had like a whole like tea serving thing that they had to do with like the master. They had to serve tea in a specific way and stuff.
Oh, like, okay, like tea that you brew, like...
Yeah, like out in the middle of the mat while like everyone's watching. Like, they just are sitting there in the middle of the mat, pour some tea with each other before they started sparring.
It's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah, it was cool. And then I remember like he got like a gift card to the Lego store afterwards. And I was like, damn, I gotta be a black belt so I can get some gifts.
Yeah, is it like what? It's like confirmation. You get a bunch of gifts once you get through that.
He didn't get a bunch of gifts. It was just like his parents gave him a gift card to the Lego store. That's all.
Oh, for advancing the classes that they already paid for? Wow. Parents really do a lot for their kids, don't they? And a lot of us are so ungrateful, so maybe go call your mom after this, say thank you?
I talked to her yesterday.
Okay.
But you know, by the time you get to black belt, it's actually like, okay, well, you're probably like kind of good at this, and it's hard to pass the black belt test.
Oh, there's one. Does each belt have something like that? It's like one specific main challenge you have to cross in order to get to the next belt, or is it? I thought it was just based on like your sensei, if that's the right word. I don't know what your instructor.
Yeah,
I thought it was just based on if your instructor says like, okay, you're good enough to go to the next level.
Well, they'll invite you to take the test, so it's usually like some kind of board breaking thing, at least at the place I went to. And the only one I specifically remember was my first one, going from white to yellow, where we learned like this sequence to get like this elbow strike down, and then we had to go like 1 sir, 2 sir, 3 sir, 4 sir, 5 sir, 6 sir, and break this board with your elbow.
Yeah. That's gotta look cooler when it's not like over a screen and you've got your headphones on.
I thought it looked pretty cool right now.
No. Hey, I didn't say it didn't look cool. I said it's gotta look cooler.
That's true. You're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, it was just making me flash back to my Taekwondo days, watching these guys go at it in the squall, even though it was nothing like that at all.
Yeah, well, I can see it. I mean, fighting camaraderie, same thing. Loyalty to your instructor and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Would have been cool to stick with that, but I was so freaking lazy.
Well, if I ever need to get in a fight with a couple of guys, I know who I'm calling.
Oh, yeah, no, that would be great in a fight, yeah.
Hey, you know the moves, man. Come on. Some of that probably stayed with you. Maybe about, like, body inertia and stuff like that. No, nothing?
Man, I wish. Like, truly the only specific move I can remember is from that first test. And I did, like, 5 tests and leveled up, like, 5 times. I can't remember any of that stuff at all. It's a bummer.
$100 if you can knock me over right now.
Through the screen?
$100.
Well, if I knock you off your socks with a fun fact.
Okay, let's see.
Stealing this from another podcast that I listen to, but a strange bird is the pelican. Its beak can hold more than its belly can.
Okay, I guess when you said that, I thought it was going to be I was so willing to take that as an out because I thought it was going to be a segue into something Star Wars related. Was not expecting it to just be about pelicans. So.
Just a fun fact about pelicans.
Yeah.
Strange bird is a pelican. Its beak can hold more than its belly can.
That's crazy, man. And if you had to relate that to Star Wars in some way, how would you do that?
Well, I guess the easy way would be like, the Millennium Falcon, the Moldy Crow, the Swampy Pelican could be the name of a ship.
Yeah. Yeah. I like how you took Millennium, and then the way you Mad Libs that was Moldy, and what was the last one? Swampy.
Dude,
Moldy
Swampy.
and Swampy.
But
Yeah.
the Moldy Crow, that's Kyle Katarn's ship.
Oh, that's his ship? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey, it's okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead, get your dunk in. I know you want to.
This is my dunk. Whoosh.
Oh, very nice.
Nothing but net. Just kidding. Boom! Hanging my arm in the rim.
Oh, you're doing
By
the
the
one.
elbow.
You're doing the elbow move you just showed me. What the sixth?
Yeah.
Whatever it was.
Hey, I mean that it stuck, so I utilize it in my dunk. Boom!
Yeah,
And
very
then,
nice.
You know, the rim is right here, and I'm hanging on like that.
Yeah. And where's the head of your enemy?
Being ground into a pulp.
I thought you could have made them the ball there, but it is fine. Is that the Cookie Monster? Going,
Funny you should say that,
Is it?
because it is Yoda,
Oh,
but
one puppet to another.
well, not only that, Frank Oz also does the voice of Cookie Monster in a lot of stuff too. So
Oh, okay. Well, it's hired Cookie Monster, man. A more iconic character in my head than Yoda.
hey, that's fair. I mean, we were, you probably had some people in your middle school wearing like Cookie Monster PJ pants. Do you have those kind of kids?
Yeah, absolutely. My brother even had I hate these hats. I despise them, like the flat bills. But it was the Cookie Monsters.
Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I think he really
Hell
liked the
yeah.
lids for a little bit. Yeah. You know, lids,
yeah.
the hat shop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever
Dude, did
I
you
was
have any
at
cool Star Wars merch in school, like Star Wars hats or shirts and stuff that you would wear, and people would be like, "Dude, you like Star Wars? That's freaking awesome."
I don't know if people thought it was freaking awesome, but I never really wore hats, but I had this shirt that I remember that was like a forecast, like you would have on the news, and it was like the forecast of Alderaan, and it was like 75 and sunny for a couple days, and then like one day it's like 1,000,000 degrees, and like and then the next day is just like totally blank.
Jeez, wow, morbid shirt. That's a cool shirt though. Actually, that's pretty sick.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I don't know
Did
how
people
many
ever?
people.
No one ever said anything about it. No one was like, "Dude, that's an awesome Star Wars reference."
I mean, I think a couple of my friends that I knew would know what it was, like said something, but I don't know if any randos ever acknowledged it. But no, I had some epic. In second grade, I had a pretty cool Revenge of the Sith shirt, but I ain't even gonna tell you what was on it.
No, yeah, okay, big spoiler shirt. You're a walking spoiler at the time, I guess.
Yeah, well, that was the talk of the circle in my second grade life. Oh man, and the toys, bro. Come on, so good.
I know. I think I've said it before, but I'm jealous that like I don't have any like back Star Wars merch now. I feel like I need to as an adult now. Whenever I see Star Wars stuff, I'm so tempted to buy any Star Wars, like even garbage that I see now, because I'm like, oh, that's R2D2 as a mug. Like, oh come on, it's R2D2, and it beeps when you take the lid of it off. Like, I need
Oh,
that.
that's
and it's
cool.
like, but they're always like $35 and stuff. You know, they're so overpriced. Like, there's definitely a
are.
Star Wars tax I've noticed they put on things.
Oh yeah, I mean, I noticed it as a kid with Legos and stuff. The Star Wars ones, you know, same piece count as like a Lego City thing would be way more expensive. Or not way more, but at least a little bit more.
And Legos are already expensive.
Oh yeah, I mean,
You talking
back
about
in
the price
day,
of Legos?
it wasn't as bad back in the day, but jeez, it's crazy now.
Yeah, Lego-flation going on over here. I think they put tariffs on Legoland. That's probably why.
Yeah, I think so.
Like
Yeah, I
how
had
thoughtful
so
that
many.
is.
Oh yeah, because of
Sorry.
the new tariffs that.
Yeah, it's kind of like the prequels. Am I right?
Okay, well, you it's crazy that you would say that, but
I only say that because I swear to God, on both parties though too. It's so funny. Like the one Star Wars thing I would see get politicized is like people would put like a politician's face on Palpatine, and they'd be like,
yeah. Yeah, dude. I mean, I see so much like stupid shit where it's like, the who said it things, like, or like, is this a Star Wars character or like a deadly virus or what, stuff like that.
yeah,
People do like I saw one, I'm pretty sure, of people talking to Mark Hamill or interviewing Mark Hamill, like, who said this, Emperor Palpatine or Donald Trump? And then Mark Hamill is like pretty old and cringy, and he's like, I'm pretty sure that was the evil orange one, something like that. I was like, bro, come on.
Hey, don't diss my man Mark Hamill and his cute little dog, okay?
I love him. He's old. He can say stuff like that.
He's a legend. Fine. He can say stuff like that, okay? And that's coming from me, Jackson. This is the gospel you should be dispelling upon me, not the student shouldn't become the master here, okay? Put some respect on Mark Hamill's name the next time you bring him up, and always mention the cute little fluffy dog he has too.
Okay, I will. Hey, I respect him. I feel like I was defending his acting up against the wall when we were talking about the first movie, but I was probably bringing the other movies into that. But I still like him in the first movie.
I maintain, though, and again, I don't even want to put it on all the actors. I think it's just the nature of making like such a different movie like that at the time made it so they had to do all different types of recording stuff. So like some stuff, like we've talked about it, they're probably not in the same room. Some stuff they're probably in the same room, but like weirdly situated or something. Or there's like big set pieces that are like blocking parts of their vision off and stuff, so it can't feel as natural regardless. So I'll give them some charity for that. But other than that, I maintain there's still some rough reads.
Sure, but I
Hamill
still
specifically. I was saying put respect on his name, but
hey, you're allowed to think that and still respect him, I think. Yeah, I still really like when he's like, "You bet I could. I'm not such a bad pilot myself. Come on, we don't have to listen to this."
One of my favorite moments, and sorry to like go back and talk about the first movie again now.
No,
but
please.
Is when, and like a little character moment in that one, is when they're talking, like Han and Luke are talking about Leia, and I forget the exact dialogue, but it's basically like Luke being like, "No, she would never date anybody like you. Come on, no." And like Han is knowing exactly what to say just to intentionally get on his buttons because he can tell that Luke has a crush on Leia, which is his sister, which he doesn't know yet, and Han will end up with him anyway. But so it's funny.
You ever think a princess like her and a guy like me? No, I don't.
Yeah. Okay. Is this how it usually is when I vaguely describe a moment? You just like have verbatim it in your head, and you're like, you can see how close I am to hitting the bullseye of like the moment I just described.
Not all the time, but I do. I remember those lines at least. But I probably even am saying it slightly wrong. I don't know.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Do you want to talk about the adaptation real quick since we were talking about the first movie?
Oh yeah, actually that's a good segue.
Yeah. So this is just a pretty straight retelling of the original movie, except it came out alongside the special editions and includes those special edition scenes in there, very specifically showing like Greedo shooting first and Han dodging.
Yeah.
And has the scene with Jabba the Hutt, which reminded me of a weird moment in that scene, which I'm sure people have talked about, and we talked about how bad that scene was last time, but he even says at the end of that scene you're a wonderful human being, Jabba. And it's like, okay, well, when they first filmed it, he was a human being. But anytime we all see that, he is about the furthest thing from a human being. And, like, I don't know, it almost still works as, like, a joke in there, but it's just like...
Yeah, dude, I was about
Why?
to defend it. I was about to be like, Jackson, he's not actually saying he's a wonderful human being. He's being sarcastic there. But it didn't even, like, clock on my radar that he's saying human being because, yeah, he's not.
Yeah.
I wonder if that just slipped past them, too. Like, I feel like it could easily be that, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, it's in the movie and in the comic book, so I don't know. Like,
No, I meant in the movie, like because once it's in the movie, it's like kind of cemented in. I mean, the
Right,
comics aren't going to
sure.
change, but yeah, I don't know. That's really funny, actually. People talk about that.
probably. I not that I know of, but I'm
Oh,
sure
okay.
someone's. But also, like, the comic is pretty picky and choosy of which lines it wants to include, and like, I don't think we need to talk about this for a long time unless you have stuff to say. I'll just say generally, like, it is essentially just an inferior way to experience the original story. It
I thought it
is
was better.
racing. Yeah, okay.
Okay,
We're
I
not
won't be.
doing that again.
Yeah.
It just races through. You don't get to breathe with the characters. It's just going boom, 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 plot, plot, plot. The art is fine, but it's not like incredible enough to like justify this, I don't think. So it really just seems like a cash grab. Like, there's not too much interesting artistry going on there, which an adaptation in a comic book of the movie could be really cool if it's like getting some slight interiors of characters or representing things visually in a different way that's really interesting, but it doesn't do that. I would like to hear your thoughts, but this is really like the only thing I'm going to say about it. Just an example of why it's so weird. It just races through the dialogue, and the scene where Luke is talking to Owen and Beru about the message that he hears from R2-D2, and he's asking him about Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Uncle Owen is like, oh, he died around the same time as your father. And then they kind of talk like, oh, you gotta stay and do the farming. He leaves and he says the line, looks like I'm not going anywhere. And then Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen are like, oh, oh, he's got his father in him. That's what I'm worried about. Whatever. When in the movie, when Luke says that line, it's a response to where are you going? And then it's kind of like a poignant thing of like, I guess I'm not going anywhere. Of like, oh, he's stuck on this bum thing, and like, and then in the book, it's like, well, he didn't say that as a response to anything. He just says that, and it feels very strange. And that's just one example, but that happens constantly throughout this whole thing, where just knowing the original dialogue and then reading it like that, it's like, no, those lines are good. It's making me appreciate the screenplay of the first movie, which I see people freaking bitching about this online. Did Star Wars has bad dialogue and the first movie has bad dialogue? God, drives me crazy.
Wow.
Yes,
like the
there's a
acting?
few. I don't know. I mean, people. I can't deal with people on the internet talking about Star Wars, but so that's why I want to talk about it on the internet for hours. But yeah, it made me appreciate the dialogue, because I'm like, no, like, there are a lot of lines here that are kind of pulled as like quotes, like outside of the context of the movie, but like in the actual movie, like, they're pretty naturalistic, like setups and payoffs of dialogue exchanges, and like not all the time. I'm not saying that like every single line in the movie is amazing, but like I think it flows pretty well and has some nice moments, and then this it kind of sticks out as like, oh, well, if you just say those lines without the whole flow and pace of the scene, like, it doesn't work at all. Anyway, that's all I'll say about the comics, really.
Yeah. Well, just to piggyback off what you said, it's like very clearly just a cash grab. I don't want to diss the art even, but like it is very. It to me, it's like it's coloring book art, if that makes sense at all. Like it looks like I'm flipping through a coloring book that someone has already colored. And again, I don't want to be like super harsh on the art, but like every aspect of it, to me, the first Marvel comic adaptation that we read is better than this, just because like it had a unique art style, like a unique coloring style, and it made it feel. I mean, you know my thoughts on it at the time. It made it feel like it enhanced the first one even. So there were like cool visual aspects of that one I liked better, even like because the example I always go to like when for the two adaptations we've looked at now is like, okay, I want to see how they do the Obi-Wan Kenobi and Vader fight. And I remember in the Marvel one, I was like, oh, they actually drew that in like a really visually striking way. Like the fight looked cooler to me. And here it was sort of just similar, like, I don't know, I guess it's so quick in the movie too, but they basically stole the shot from the movie of it being pulled back farther away than like Luke sort of seeing Obi-Wan Kenobi sort of fade away, or just his clothes drop, I guess. Which like, to me, and again, like that's an example of something I think in the movie, like as much as I still feel oddly about that fight not being the most exciting fight, like that moment itself is really cool, and like Luke's reaction to it, seeing it happen, like I really appreciate that. But like there's no tonal carryover when you're going like panel by panel with that shot. It's like that was for a movie. You can't just take that and have that be for the comic too. Like those things don't necessarily work together. And I feel like there's a lot of moments in that where it's like you guys didn't try anything different here because you're in a different medium. You just like copy and pasted the exact same thing, and it doesn't work because it wasn't made for this medium.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I 1,000% agree with you, and I think I was looking for that moment specifically too, because after the first issue I was like, man, like this art isn't really giving me the juice like I wanted, because I was like, I could probably just skim through this mostly because I already know the story. I know, and you know, it became clear pretty early on that like they will be using dialogue exclusively like straight up from the script, and it's not gonna change that at all. So I was like, okay, I can kind of blast through it, but I can at least like hopefully the art will be really cool. And then it wasn't really great, and I was like, okay, well maybe the fight with Obi-Wan and then maybe the Death Star like trench run at the end, like maybe those can be really strong. They just didn't give the juice. The trench run especially was like confusing and hard to follow who was who, and I mean, I get it, everybody's got their helmets on, it's in similar looking ships and stuff, it's hard to tell, but just the sequencing of that whole thing was confusing in the comic too. Yeah.
Yep, I like Marvel's better, but I understand why they did this. They were like, oh, we haven't done one like this yet, and we own it now, so good opportunity.
Yeah. But, you know, and even in the Marvel one, they had cool, like, flowery text boxes of language about, like, the emptiness of space and stuff like that.
That's what I really liked in that one.
Yeah. I mean, I like that stuff, too, and that's totally absent in this. There's nothing. I mean, it's just straight up, all from the movie, straight up. So it doesn't really add anything to the story experience.
Well, maybe the manga version, when we check that out, will enhance some certain aspects of it, make it stand out differently or read differently. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, I'm at least hoping the art will be cool, you know.
Yeah. I want to see like the big manga reactions from some of the characters we know, you know?
Yeah.
I think that'll be fun.
I've read the first one. I haven't read the Empire Strikes Back one, but I would love to see like the I am your father moment in anime style.
Yeah. Giant sweat bead dripping from his head. What?
He just goes like the little
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
It looks like a potion bottle, but it's white. You know that
Yeah, I
little
know
thing
exactly what
that
you're
comes
talking
out. Yeah. That's probably like Yoda's reaction when Luke is like, I am ready, and bumps his head on the ceiling.
Yeah.
Oh, but last little thing about the comic, I did like that they included the shot where Darth Vader kind of stomps his foot around on Obi-Wan's cloak to be like, where did he go? Because that's a funny moment in the movie too. But
Yeah.
okay, little tangent, but my TikTok is abused with Star Wars content, right? It's bad, honestly, how high of a percentage of it is Star Wars stuff. I don't even want it to be. I'd like to see more varied, just movie things in general.
Oh, you mean your feed, not the content you make?
Oh,
like
yeah, no.
Oh, okay.
I make the content on a page that I don't look at all other than posting on, but then my actual personal account, my whole For You page is like 60% Star Wars stuff. And
Wow.
maybe not really, but that's what it feels like. And sometimes I open it and like the first 3 things are all Star Wars things. And so I had one today that I saw that was some like British convention, which like I don't want to hear fucking British people talk about Star Wars anyway, but
Are they allowed to?
yeah,
anyway.
they did. Yeah. Unless you were in one, which I know a lot of British people are in Star Wars movies, but
Doesn't Star Wars just feel uniquely American though? It's ours.
It
Back
is.
off,
It's
international.
it is if it's any other thing, it's Japanese.
Okay, I don't mind sharing.
At least the influences of it. But
Sure.
No, I don't want to share though. It's super American. So anyway, this guy was going around and giving people like, or asking them like, "What's your Star Wars hot take? What's like your Star Wars hot take?" And like, I should not watch these videos. I should know. As soon as I see that, scroll away. You're gonna get angry. But one that I saw was, or like, what's a controversial opinion you have about Star Wars? And somebody said like, I think it's actually ridiculous that Vader didn't recognize Leia as his daughter when he sees her in A New Hope at the beginning. And I wanted to jump through my screen and beat them up because he doesn't recognize that. It's explained in story if you're paying attention or have a little bit of context clues or anything, that he's so cut off from the Force. He thought his kids were dead. He didn't even know that his children lived until.
No, but I know what that person wanted. They wanted like a, you have my eyes, and my cheekbone structure. Like they wanted one of those, obviously.
And it's like, I don't know. We can no spoilers, but we can assume that he didn't like raise her when she was a child and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and like
but we know she grew up with Winter.
Yeah, and freaking Bail Organa.
Yeah.
And it's just so it's explained in the movies that he's so cut off from the light side of the Force that he couldn't sense that these were his children until later, until he had like interaction with them. Yeah. Oh man.
Well, here's
Just
the point based off that though. So, what about the Force aspect? Because eventually he senses that Luke's got the Force. He's able to do that. With Leia, I guess the movies don't really get into her Force stuff so much, but it's still sort of developing. But yeah, I wonder if you felt any sense of that immediately, or it was just so fuzzy reception out there that he couldn't get it.
I mean, there's definitely a little bit of like they didn't know that Luke and Leia were going to be brother and sister when they made the first movie. They didn't know that, she was going to be his daughter as well, I guess, is probably part of it. But yeah, I mean, he's like, oh, in the first movie when Luke is doing the trench run and stuff, he's like, oh, the Force is strong with this one. So he senses that he's got the Force and everything, but he doesn't know who it is until sometime between the first and second movies when he figures that out. But
yeah.
Anyway,
so she was kind of right. Like, she actually had a really good hot take on Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, it's been nice doing the podcast with you. I'm gonna.
Wait, were there worse ones though? Like, and they're like, you just can't tell me because they involve like either prequel or sequel stuff.
Yeah. There's a couple that I can. Mostly just people being like, I actually like the sequel movies and stuff like that.
Okay, I figured it'd be some of that. Yeah.
Yeah. But if I was asked, I would say Rogue One is the most overrated piece of Star Wars media.
Wow. Dude, I think that's the one I've been telling you. People, when they hear I haven't seen any of the other movies, they don't say like, oh, watch this prequel movie, you're going to love it. Watch this, and I guess it's part of the sequels maybe, or it's a spinoff, I don't know. They're like, watch Rogue One. You're going to love Rogue One. Like, I'm so jealous that you get to experience Rogue One for the first time ever again. So,
hey, maybe you'll love it. Maybe you'll love it, and I won't judge.
It sounds like I might.
Hey, if everybody's telling you that you will. No, it's not even bad. Like, I like it. I do. I like it. But it's definitely pretty overrated, I think.
I wish I didn't know you thought that way. Because I hope that doesn't influence the tiniest bit now where I start being like, well, there is a crack in the cement here, so
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No. I'm usually pretty good about that. I mean, hey, our first Star Wars movie difference anyway. I knew you loved it, and I was still needlessly ripping it to shreds like a lion with a gazelle in my mouth. Anyway, yeah.
No, it wasn't needless. You had good points.
Being the apex predator of the jungle, got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, 2 good points right here. Your big fangs.
Yeah, now we're talking. Let's go, dude.
You know what? You would kill me if the 2 royal guards were.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I really don't want to. I know that you can like make your own opinions and ignore my thoughts about things, but even stuff like that, you will just be like, oh, like which parts does he think is overrated and which? Yeah, so I don't want to. Yeah. I don't want to do that. So I'm sorry.
No, don't worry.
By the time we get there, maybe you won't even remember. You probably will though, because it's one of the main things.
Okay. Yeah.
It's one of the movies,
Saying I won't remember shit.
Well, it's just gonna probably be a long time before we get there.
I know, but people keep telling me about Rogue One. People are Rogue One crazed, dude. It keeps coming up.
Well, once we get through the prequels, never mind. That's a logistics thing we can talk about later.
Okay, all right.
Well, you wanna talk about Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2?
Kyle Katarn on his quest to avenge the murder of his father, killed by a dark Jedi known as
Inquisitor Jarek. Jedi Master Kuran was his father. Yeah, didn't mention that his dad was a Jedi in the first game, but that's okay. So what did you just watch a video of this?
Oh yeah, but I basically, and a funny thing that happened. So I was like, okay, I'll just watch it. Like, I'll type in the name of the game and then like movie, just so I get like all the cutscenes together, And as I started watching it, I was like, wait, am I watching just like a fan adaptation of the cutscenes from the movie? So I got so confused at first because they use real actors for this.
Yep.
So I at first was not 100% confident I was not watching a fan project, but then I realized it was the actual thing, which, by the way, I gotta say, I don't say that dismissively at all. I love that they do that. I love that this it it feels like it operates in a weird dream world between like a full-blown cinema experience of Star Wars and like the games. It's like in a weird spot on the spectrum between that, and it's kind of awesome. Like it's like a low-budget Star Wars movie that still kind of rocks, you know? Like it's cool.
I agree. I quite like it. I love the live action little cutscenes. They're cheesy. The acting is super big.
Yeah.
And it is a little low budget and janky looking, but man, I love the atmosphere that it creates, and it's so funny like seeing these characters in live action cutscenes and then immediately cutting to like dueling them in the game as they're like low poly late 90s early 3D graphics type of stuff.
Yeah. Gotta say the actor for Kyle Katarn is like really cool though. I mean,
yeah.
I was like, he's embodying this character really well, I think. Like there are deliveries that are like every once in a while are really off, but it's just it's because I know they were filming for a video game and saying weird stuff, like, you know.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
yeah.
we'll go to the hangar way over there and like that type of stuff. But
yeah,
for the most part, really
like,
cool
mission exposition type of lines and things, and probably acting in a weird space on a green screen with people who, you know, might not have like, I don't know. I don't want to say the people who made it are inexperienced or whatever, but I think they're more game designers than they are filmmakers and stuff. So there's a little bit of that going on too. But
I would love a behind the scenes on how they filmed these portions, if that exists at all. Do you know? Or
yeah, I think it does. I should have sent you a. I'm pretty sure I've watched a video of that. But Jason Court is the guy's name who plays Kyle Katarn.
Okay.
And I agree. He's cool. He does a good job.
The I forget the bad guy's name too. He's not bad either. I mean, he's very like a very cheesy villain, but he's still really fun to watch.
Jarek. Yeah.
Like I said, I enjoyed it, man.
If you ever get the chance to play it, it is very fun. It's janky. Well, I wouldn't even say it's necessarily janky. It's the design philosophies are outdated, you know, like, but it's still got that early first person shooter appeal of similar to Dark Forces but a little bit better, where the level design is pretty like architecturally based rather than like level design based. So there'll be like huge rooms with almost nothing in them, and like, you know, but it's just because like that's the big courtyard of this building or whatever. Stuff like that, which I find pretty charming and fun. And I mean, this one you start this is the first game where you're getting to use force powers, like in this way at least. And you have a lightsaber. By the end of the game, built up a pretty nice little batch of force powers. There's dark side and light side leaning choices you can make. Really only like one big choice where you can kill Jan Ors or let her live at this one part, but of course I let her live. I'm not going dark side. What the hell?
Okay, all right. I would have killed her.
Okay.
Just to
She's
see
like
what
your
happens.
best friend.
Just to see what happens.
Hey, I watched a video of that side of it, but I'm not gonna do that in my playthrough.
No, the guy I was watching also didn't do it. I was like, "You're weak."
You know who I like? I like Bach, the Twi'lek henchman of Jarek.
He's really funny when he's got like the rock. And he's like, like,
yeah,
what a weirdo.
Just like maniacally laughing and jumping around.
Yeah, are Twi'leks like supposed to be really strange, like in characterization, or because I haven't seen so many Twi'leks, and Tatonita was a little quieter, and was Jabba's guy a Twi'lek?
Yeah, Bib Fortuna. Yes, he is.
Bib Fortuna also a little quieter. This was the first kind of silly Twi'lek, Silic, if you if you do, if you will.
There's a cool Rogue Squadron comic with some Twi'lek stuff that's cool. Yeah, and then the only other Twi'leks we've seen are like the dancer in his palace.
Yeah.
But the male Twi'leks that we've seen are kind of crazy. Bib Fortuna's a little crazy in his own way, but Tat Donita's very stoic.
Yeah. Underwritten,
kind of like
some
me.
would say, but yeah. Okay.
Maybe he just...
Underwritten.
I would say that, sometimes the smartest man in the room is the quietest. But...
Okay.
That's what I would say. But
Well, I win. I was quieter than you were in that moment.
well,
I'm
you win
smarter.
the whole podcast if that's the case.
I don't know about that, man. One of our many fans, please run the analytics for who talks the most during these episodes.
Dude, when I'm editing, I can see the audio files of how much I'm talking compared to you. And it's not like it's way more, but
Yeah.
it's definitely a little more for me.
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying like, so you need to talk more. I just ramble a lot, I feel like.
No, I was going to say that makes sense, though. This is, I mean, as indoctrinated to Star Wars as I'm getting, this is, once again, we're in your domain right now. I mean, I'm on the court with Coach right now, and he's teaching me how to shoot. He's teaching me how to dunk.
You want to do it like this. Boom!
Yeah.
Hang in there. Man, so did you watch like the gameplay of it too, or just the cutscenes?
Oh, that's what I was going to say. So, the way that it was strung together, the way this person made it into a movie was, no, I didn't watch like all the gameplay because that would have been like 4 or 5 hours, I think, of watching someone go through the playthrough. So what they did though was like it would be the cutscenes with, I guess, what would be the main fights of the game, or like your boss fights. Because, for example, like what I would see is like the cutscene where like you're about to fight Cedrus, the like acrobatic gal or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would just cut to her like polygon form, and I'd get to watch that little battle. Then they'd cut back to like the next live action cutscene. So yeah, weird interjections of like the game for me, but for the most part, kind of just like a movie.
Yeah. Well, that's I mean, I would say that the actual lightsaber duels are some of the weaker parts of the gameplay. I think the exploration and like taking down troops and stuff is the more exciting and fun part. But I just think, hey, it's the first time that they're trying to do like sword fighting combat in a first person thing where you're battling dark Jedi and stuff. Like, hey, it's awesome that you're even doing that in a game, and it only, well, it's not like every game improves upon the last one. There's some that are better than others, but the lightsaber combat does get a lot better than it is in this one.
I would say, and again, I haven't played this one, just watched it. I would say it's probably a thrill though to have a lightsaber regardless. I mean, I remember when we played the Super Nintendo one, I think it was Empire Strikes Back, and we first got, like, that was like the first instance you get a lightsaber in the game, like in the side scrolling. And it was cool. Like, the game was still kind of rough, but like, just having a lightsaber is cool.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Just wait till you get to those games you keep talking about with the red-headed Jedi, Cal Kestis.
I know. I keep seeing them on sale too every once in a while. And I'm like, I guess I could always buy them whenever, but I'm not gonna buy a game and not play it for like 6 months or probably longer until we get there.
Yeah.
My urge to play Star Wars Outlaws, for example. You remember when I was like, Jackson, I may get it, man.
Yeah.
I may break and get it. Bro, I'm not even thinking about that game anymore. It's like, that's the past. Okay.
I that game is bad, man. I wish it wasn't, but I've been playing it and it's bad.
I do want to like live in an open world Star Wars setting, like that is a good pitch. That's super fun. I would love to do that.
Well, that's what I like about the game, is just walking around the cities, and I just play sabacc, man. That's what I do.
Hey, that's cool.
But you can't like mess around with the world as much as you would like to be able to.
Can you cheat in sabacc?
Yes.
Okay, well then, what more do you want, dude?
No, I love the sabacc part. It's actually very well thought out, and there's different like cheats and strategies that you can unlock as you get through the game, and it becomes pretty deep and fleshed out by toward the once you've done it a few times. It's well designed, that part of it.
Well, that is cool. That dude, when Red Dead 2 came out, I did not. I started the story, and then as soon as I found a blackjack table in that game, I was like, I would just get on to play blackjack in the game. I would just use it as a blackjack simulator. And then 2 years after that, someone was telling me how phenomenal the story of the game is, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll actually give it a try. Yeah, I love that game. That game's and I was like, man, I wasted so much time in college just playing blackjack in this game when the rest of the game is beautiful and the story is amazing and there's so much more to do. So maybe Star Wars Outlaws not like that, but Red Dead 2 was definitely like that.
Yes, I mean, and they wish they want this to be like Red Dead for Star Wars. That's what they want it to be, even down to the mechanic of, I forget what it's called, but slowing down time and marking multiple targets and then doing the blast. That's straight up in that game.
Your Deadshot?
Yeah, the Deadeye thing, yeah. And it's just inferior in pretty much every way, so it's a bummer. But yeah, I would say definitely play this game if you ever get the chance, if it's ever more easily accessible. It is really fun because the force powers, once you get going, allow you to just kind of break the game, especially jump. So I would just spec everything into force jump, and by the time you have powerful force jump, you can hold down that button, and it's super satisfying sound of whoop, and then you let go, and you can jump so high, way higher than you think you'd be able to. And it's really fun to just skip huge chunks of levels by just jumping to a different part of it.
Oh, you can break the game via those abilities?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
But I mean, a lot of times then it'll be oh, you don't have this key that you need, so you have to go back. But
okay.
But sometimes you can just skip parts.
Well, what's the future for Kyle Katarn?
We've got another game.
But
there's
they
two more
split the
games.
endings now.
Yeah, they go with the light side ending though.
Okay, all right.
The next game with him is Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast. That is available on the PlayStation Store.
I'll be able to play it then.
Probably for just $10. And then there's also Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy later on, which, man, I'm excited to. I mean, that is a great game that I think you should just play regardless of the podcast if you're interested, because you get to customize your character. You don't play as Kyle Katarn, but he's in the game as a Jedi Master mentor.
Okay.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
But you're a student at Luke's Jedi Academy. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that is fun. That does sound fun. What's that for? PlayStation 2?
It was on PC and maybe PS2 at the time. I think that one is also in the PlayStation Store, but I'm not sure.
When do we get to some 2-player games, man? When can I flex my Jedi abilities against yours so we really know the answer of who would win in that fight to become one of the Royal Guard?
Yeah, there's not that many good competitive 2-player games, but there's definitely co-op. And the big one that I'm thinking of is the Lego Star Wars. I mean, I think we should play through that entire game together, because that was the main. That and Battlefront 2 were the main ones that I played as a little kid. And man, I just love the original Lego Star Wars games so much, and
I've
they're
also
so
never
fun.
played a Lego game before, so yeah, that'd be
Damn,
interesting
really?
too. Yeah, to see what that's like, because I know they're super popular.
Lego Star Wars was the first one, not the first ever game with Legos in it, but the first one that follows that formula, where all the other, like Lego Batman, Harry Potter, all those, like, follow a similar pattern. Like, the template was the Lego Star Wars one, the first one.
Did I tell you that I went out and I bought, because when I watched the first trilogy, it felt like a landmark, and I felt like I'd unlock stuff that I'd be able to play now. And I really wanted to play a Star Wars game. I think I was craving Star Wars Outlaws, but I sent my approval form into you if I could get that, and you put the big X red stamp on it, so I'm not allowed to play. So I was looking for an alternative, and I bought the Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga because I thought that covered the 3 original movies, because I thought that was like what the Skywalker Saga was, like Luke's story, you know? I didn't realize the entire, like, all 9 of those movies are considered the Skywalker Saga. So once a friend told me that, I was like, so I can't play this game at all? No.
And also, that's unfortunately the inferior Lego Star Wars game.
Probably explains why it was like $20.
Well, it's the newer one, and it's not necessarily even like a remake of the old ones. It's just like a whole new game with new levels and everything, and a new system and stuff. And I don't really care for it, TBH. But man, once we've seen all 3 of the prequels, we'll play Lego Star Wars together.
Okay, good.
And Battlefront 2, the original Battlefront 2, that's got good split screen stuff going on. And then more recently, well, it's an old game that came out right after Phantom Menace, but Jedi Power Battles, they just remastered it. And
I think I saw it on the PlayStation Store, with like Samuel L. Jackson's character on the cover. Mace Windu?
I don't know what you're talking about. But yes, that is a co-op like hack and slash type of game.
Okay,
Connor and I have been playing that. It's fun.
Guest of the podcast, episode 3, Connor, or 4.
Yeah, I was going to say, fans of the podcast will remember the holiday special guest.
Shout out to Connor.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I think I'll probably make a video about Dark Forces 2, so I'll give more of my thoughts there. But it's cool, man. I love, it's cool in a Star Wars history way, and it's cool in a video game design history way too, because, man, the early days of like the 3D first-person shooters, like once we're past like Doom and Wolfenstein and the first Dark Forces and all that, and you get into Quake and Half-Life and this game, pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, and honestly, dude, watching it, I'm like, man, part of me, I totally understand why it's not the common move, but I would love to see some modern games try and adapt this style of like shooting live action footage as your cutscenes. I think it could be really cool. And like it's segue easier too now, because our graphics can more align with like a close approximation to what live action is. But even if it doesn't, I'd still say it's cool.
I agree. And I think like the quality of the filming and like the backgrounds and like certain CGI characters in the cutscenes still and everything, it blends with the game nicely still.
Yeah, for sure.
But hey, Jarek, an Inquisitor. It's our first Imperial Inquisitor that we've encountered.
Yeah, learning more about the Imperial hierarchy.
There's some Force-sensitive agents that were used by Vader and Palpatine, but always kept subjugated, and probably, if trained correctly, could become, not as powerful as Vader. Obviously, I'm not being crazy, but they could become, dark side equivalent of Jedi levels of powerful, which Jarek sort of does become, and he's looking for more power in the Valley of the Sith and everything, which is cool to see locations that we've seen in Tales of the Jedi and everything. But they always keep those Force users untrained and subjugated so that they don't challenge their power.
More Force users popping up every day here. It's a powder keg ready to explode of Sith and Jedis battling it out here again. When's the next big Star Wars? The big
What?
Star War.
Like war?
Yeah.
Like in real life, when is the next one gonna happen?
Yeah. Nostradamus.
No. The next big one we'll get to is Clone Wars, baby.
It moving forward in the timeline though? Because that's what I mean. Oh yeah, I
Okay,
mean forward.
I just meant in our timeline.
You don't have to
Moving
tell me,
forward, there is one that I know of that is a really big one. But that's for another day.
Okay. The Kylo Ren Wars.
Oh yeah, no, I wasn't even. The sequel movies were not even crossing my mind.
Okay.
In our timeline,
I know everything there is to know about you. You do? Oh, you do.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, sorry. That was just a TikTok sound in 2020, so that's why I know that.
Oh, that's right. It was. Wow. When everybody was like shipping them.
Yeah, I'm so fascinated to watch that movie because that is the one thing I know about it, like that they may be in love, which is like, I don't know. I gotta see it.
Yeah, maybe. Well, let me ask you something before we wrap up, Ryan.
Sure. 3,
Do you-
2, 1. Ask. Sorry.
Do you believe that like my curation process of this whole thing is like absolutely, and I don't mean good. I don't mean like, yeah, you're doing a pretty good job of curating. Do you believe that it's absolutely 1000% perfect and flawless? And maybe just myself as a person in general, do you maybe feel like I have no problems and you would like trust in me with your life and as just like a mentor beyond Star Wars?
Okay, I feel like that really there's like you sort of baked two questions in there, because sort of the first half of it was about specifically Star Wars, and then you kept expanding it to be greater. So I guess I'll answer in order. Star Wars wise, I completely trust you. You are the surgeon who is about to save my heart. You're gonna cut out the bad arteries, and I don't know. I'm not a cardiologist. I don't know surgery terms or whatever, but you're gonna do all that for me. You're gonna get the valves properly working again. I trust that, and I don't know if you need me to say this because you got like a hate comment or something. And they were like, "You're showing him the wrong things. You got to show him this instead in this order," or what? When it comes to life, I do trust you. For mentorship, I'd say that you have your strengths, and there's certain things that I maybe would look to you for mentorship. But I would also say, as like the totality of a person, not to put you down in your way of living, but I'm pretty happy with the way that I live, you know? So I don't necessarily...
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
That was the only reason why I asked you.
You weren't looking for such... Okay, noted for the future. When you ask just a serious, reflective question like that, don't answer it. Okay.
No, that's just why I was saying, like, is it flawless? Because I thought maybe you would be like, oh, it's pretty good, but not. You know.
You weren't. Didn't expect me to say 100%. I trust you, did you? Huh? With the Star Wars stuff.
And to that I say,
cookie. Me want cookie.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I just I was trying to just set you up to say no so I could play that.
Yeah,
clip.
Sorry. Look, man, I'm not going to put you down, okay? You're my friend, and you're a good person.
Wow.
It's not your fault. You're a good person.
Wow. Really looking right at me there.
So, just
shifting in my seat a little bit.
I know if I elevate you, man, also... the karmic powers of the universe will elevate me so I can stay on the same eye level of you, and we can keep talking about Star Wars forever. Oh my god, that's actually super cool. That's huge. That's like way bigger than I thought a little Lego piece would be.
I've had this in my room the whole time.
That's very cool. Does it do any like special features, like if you click on it and stuff, like light ups or not?
It doesn't light up, but it does have the third leg Greg. No, I'm not being gross, guys. R2D2's got a third leg right in between his two. Yeah, he's absolutely fucking hung. The third, god damn it, the third leg you can kind of grab and stick up in there, so he can be on his two legs, or you can tilt him forward a little bit, and the third leg pops out.
Cool. Glad I asked. That's cool. That's good information.
And he also has a little compartment where Luke's lightsaber is hidden inside.
Is it a little Lego lightsaber that you can like retract outward?
It's just the hilt.
Okay. Is there coverage for it?
Coverage?
Yeah, like something to go over it.
The lights, like inside R2D2, or what are you talking about?
Never mind. Forget it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No. Like I said, just amusing myself over here.
Here, light. Yeah, there it is.
Okay, cool. Just non-operational, I guess.
Yeah, sorry.
What good will that do you when Jawas show up at your door?
I don't know. I don't need to kill Jawas.
Well, you would though if they were threatening. I mean, let's take Connor for example. I know he's there. What if a Jawa threatened to kill Connor? Would you then do what you need to do?
Yeah, sure, but why would the Jawas do that? They might be like swindly and they might try and scam you out of money, but they're not violent, really.
I don't know, man. They seemed pretty violent in the first movie. Like they looked like they wanted to hurt Luke bad. And look, even if a Jawa wanted to hurt Connor bad, you would let them hurt Connor bad just to save you.
I would defend him.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. You'd disembowel a Jawa for Connor, right?
Yeah, I would. I would freaking slice him right across the gut and watch it fall out.
Okay, dude, that's morbid and gross. I don't want to think about something like that right now.
Okay, sorry. That too gross for you?
Yeah, that was too gross for me.
All right, well, any other thoughts before we talk about next time?
No other thoughts.
All right. Well, here we go. Next time on the Beggars Canyon Boys, episode 22, we will be talking about 3 video games that we will just be watching videos of. So that'll be brief. The Star Wars Trilogy Arcade, Star Wars Rebellion, which is like a real-time strategy game, and Star Wars Master of Teras, which is a Star Wars fighting game for the PlayStation 1 that is notorious for being one of the worst Star Wars games ever made. Although I've not played it, but I'll say, like, from watching a video, the design and some of the things about the game are cool, but it probably sucks to play.
Why are we just watching videos on these? Why aren't we playing them?
Well, you can, because one is like an arcade cabinet. Then Star Wars Rebellion is like a PC-only real-time strategy game that you could try and play if you want. And then Masters of Teras is a PS1 only game that is not on the PlayStation Store and is also quite bad. And maybe if we were together, see, there you go, that would be us being able to fight each other as Star Wars characters. But I don't know how we would do that.
No.
Worlds apart as we are.
I figured you had good reason. I just was, curious why we weren't playing them.
I mean, if you find a way to seek these out and play them and you really want to, by all means, go for it. That would be awesome. And I might try to emulate Teras a little bit and see what it's like. But that's just, some little stuff. The big things we're talking, would you believe it? More comic books. Shadows of the Empire Evolution. Sequel to Shadows of the Empire. The manga of A New Hope. And then also another Tales of the Jedi miniseries, Tales of the Jedi Redemption. Kevin J. Anderson is back for more.
Oh, okay. Very fun.
So I'm assuming that one will be like the bulk of what we have to talk about next time.
Okay, cool.
All right. Ready to do our famous outro that we do every time?
I am, yeah.
All right. Starry.
Star Wars.
Very starry
Star Wars.
Wars.
Star Wars.